You've heard about the age of the soul, haven't you? Someone mentioned it, you saw a video. Maybe you even took one of those quick tests and got a nice result, an easy-to-remember label. But today I'm going to show you something that's almost never mentioned about Taurus in this context, and it might be a little unsettling because it will contradict what you've always believed about this sign. Everyone treats Taurus as if it were the simplest sign of the zodiac. They like comfort, they like good food, they like staying still in the same place. Simple as that, they say. But think about it. Why would a supposedly simple soul carry within it this strange, almost uncomfortable feeling of having lived this before, always? This longing for a place you've never visited in this life, this pleasant and tiring weight at the same time, like someone carrying an overly full suitcase and not even remembering what they put inside, only knowing that it weighs them down. Imagine an old house. The furniture has been replaced hundreds of times, but the walls still hold a scent that no one can identify anymore, a remnant of people who once lived there and never truly left. Taurus is that house. And what most people call stubbornness, attachment, difficulty letting go of things, may be exactly that. The walls holding on to a scent that the soul still recognizes, even without knowing why. Also pay attention to the body. Taurus stores emotion in a way that almost no other sign does. A backache that always appears after a disappointment. A lump in the throat that tightens just when you have to tell the truth. This is not a coincidence, nor a physical weakness. It's a safe so old that no one remembers the combination anymore, but it remains locked in the same way, protecting something that still matters too much to be forgotten. And here comes the part that usually bothers people the most. This Taurus taste for fine things, for eating well, for saving money, for building a stable life, has always been treated as a shallow whim. But there is another possible interpretation. Imagine someone who has just emerged from a shipwreck. The person is on dry land, safe and sound, but even so, they continue touching everything around them, testing if it's real, if it won't disappear again from under their feet. They don't do this out of a gluttonous need for security, but because a part of them still doesn't trust that the land will still be there tomorrow. This is the gesture that Taurus repeats unconsciously every day. But what if this hunger he feels, this need to touch, to keep, to prove that something is real and will last, wasn't about the present? What if it came from much further back than any memory the mind can reach? Notice something curious. Almost every Taurus, at some point in their life, has felt a disproportionate fear of losing something they didn't even fully possess yet. A new job, a recent relationship, a house still under construction. This fear doesn't originate in the present. It's too big, too heavy to fit into such a new situation. It's as if it comes ready-made, stored away, just waiting for an excuse to reappear. What if I told you there's a pattern, almost an invisible script, that repeats itself in the life of almost every Taurus? First, the slow building, then the deep attachment, then a fear that seems exaggerated, and finally, often, a loss that confirms the fear, fueling the cycle again. Because there's a detail that nobody has told you yet about this mechanism, a detail that completely changes the way you'll look at this need to hold on to things. And that's what this is all about. I want to take you now, because maybe attachment isn't about not being able to let go. Maybe it's about a soul that has already let go too much. Once, in a time the mind can't reach, and decided never to let that happen again without a fight. Have you ever felt that no matter how much you advance, there seems to be an envious energy surrounding you that weakens your motivation, your achievements, and even your inner peace? What if what you call bad luck, blockages, or constant wear and tear is actually an invitation to see your life from a new perspective? Many believe that they just work harder, insist more, or wait for time to solve everything. But what if true change begins when you understand the 12 laws of the universe that help each zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy? Now think about this. What if every obstacle, every disappointment, every feeling of stagnation, and every moment you felt your energy was drained hid a lesson you haven't yet realized? What if knowing these laws could transform the way you face your challenges, strengthen your confidence, and protect your inner peace? It was in seeking answers to these reflections that the digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe That Help the Zodiac Sign Overcome Spiritual Envy, was born. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. Many people have already begun this journey of self-discovery and found a new way to look at their challenges. Now it's your turn. Access to the digital book is available in the first pinned comment. Don't miss the opportunity to learn a perspective that can transform how you face spiritual envy, strengthen your energy, and continue your journey with more clarity. Click now and discover how the 12 laws of the universe can become a guide to a more conscious, balanced, and resilient life. If you're feeling this tightness right now, it's because a part of you has already recognized that this isn't about today. It's an old pattern asking to be seen while that clarity is still alive within you, before routine stifles what you've just realized again. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Tell me in the comments, at what point in your life did you first feel that you were carrying a weight too heavy to fit into what you were experiencing at that moment? And here's the detail. Every Taurus, at some point, feels the exact moment when keeping things hidden ceases to be caring and becomes imprisonment. It's subtle. It doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't come with a set date. It comes slowly, like a root that grows too strong inside the very pot that protected it. Imagine a young tree planted in a small pot, because it still needs protection from the wind, from excessive sun, from everything that could destroy it prematurely. The root grows and grows, and for a good while the pot fulfills exactly the role it should. But there comes a moment when that same root which has supported so much begins to coil in on itself. It no longer grows outwards, it grows inwards, compressed, suffocated by the very limit that was once its protection. This is exactly what happens to the old soul of Taurus when it forgets that it can also move on. The relationship that no longer serves its purpose, but continues to be maintained because breaking up feels like a betrayal of something too old to name. The job that has already drained everything it had to give, but is still held onto tooth and nail because the soul is afraid, an old fear, of losing its footing again. The house, the habit, the routine that no longer fits who this person has become, but remains there intact, because tampering with it feels like tampering with something too sacred to risk. And the most curious thing is that no one understands from the outside what's happening on the inside. From the outside, it seems like stubbornness, like silly attachment, like a person who just needs to let go more. But on the inside, it's an old soul trying with all its might not to repeat a loss. It feels deep inside, even without remembering where it came from. The problem is that by protecting this root so much, Taurus risks never letting it grow outwards again, and a soul that stops growing, however old it may be, begins to forget its own purpose for being here again. There's a curious detail in this process. The older the soul, the more convincing the excuse becomes for not moving. Taurus will never admit right away that they're afraid. They'll call it responsibility, commitment, loyalty, common sense. And in part, That's true because Taurus genuinely values all of that. But there's a fine, almost invisible line between valuing what has been built and using that construction as a hiding place. Recognizing that line is the first step, the most difficult one, before any real change can happen. If you recognize this root coiled within yourself, perhaps it's time to look at what you hold on to, simply out of fear of repeating an old loss. It is for souls like this, trapped in their own protection, that the digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe That Help the Zodiac Sign Overcome Spiritual Envy, was born. More than just a read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to understand these patterns, break the cycle of holding on out of fear, and strengthen your mind against the envy of others. The last copies with a special offer are available for a limited time. The link is in the first pinned comment. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's something almost no one tells you about older souls. They attract more envy. Not because they provoke, not because they show off, but because they carry a different density, an energetic weight that other people feel even without rationally understanding why. It's like a tree laden with fruit in the middle of an empty orchard. It did nothing wrong by blossoming, but it is precisely this tree that attracts more stares, more comments, and unfortunately more stones. Taurus knows this weight in a visceral way. They feel it before they understand it. That tightness in the chest, when recounting an achievement to someone and realizing without knowing how to explain it, that the other person's joy isn't complete. That feeling of being observed with more attention than necessary, as if every step taken needed to be justified. Many people call this paranoia, excessive sensitivity. But a soul that has lived through many cycles has learned early on to distinguish the weight that is theirs from the weight that was placed upon them by those who couldn't bear to see them grow. And here lies an uncomfortable question. How many times have you retreated from an achievement, hidden a joy, diminished a victory, just to avoid feeling the weight of others watching you? How many times has the ancient root of Taurus, which should support your growth, been used instead to hide, to become small, to avoid bothering others? Recognizing this difference between what is yours and what has been thrown at you by the envy of others is the first step to stop carrying a burden that should never have been yours. And there's an important detail here. The envy that Taurus feels from the outside is almost never about what they have today. It's about what they represent, without even realizing it, to those who haven't yet built their own inner security. An old soul, even tired, even insecure inside, still radiates a stability that bothers those who are lost. And that's not Taurus's fault. Recognizing this is the beginning of stopping shrinking just to make others comfortable. There's a huge misunderstanding about Taurus's slowness. People confuse slowness with emptiness. They confuse silence with a lack of response. But anyone who has observed closely knows, when Taurus takes a long time to respond, to decide, to react, it's not because they have nothing to say, it's because they are processing layers that most people don't even know exist. Think of a wine. A young wine might be tasty, but it's shallow, straightforward, without complexity. But a wine that has spent years in a dark cellar without any hurry develops something that no technique can hasten. Layers of flavor that only internal time, silent, hidden from the light, can create. The silence of Taurus is exactly that cellar. It's not empty. It's the processing of many lives, of many pains already digested, of much wisdom that hasn't yet found words, because words sometimes come after understanding. And here is the most uncomfortable paradox of all. If this wisdom already exists within Taurus, guarded, mature, ready, why does he still hesitate so much to trust it? Why, even knowing deep down what he needs to do, does he still wait, postpone, doubt himself? Perhaps because a soul that has already been wounded by trusting too much has learned to distrust even its own certainty. And this is a silent sadness that few Taurians admit to feeling, the sensation of carrying an entire wisdom within themselves and yet being afraid to use it. And perhaps that's precisely why so many people confuse Taurus with someone indecisive, when in reality they decided a long time ago they're just waiting for the right moment to trust their own decision without needing 1,000 external confirmations. This waiting, when well understood, ceases to be weakness and becomes exactly what it always was: wisdom maturing at its own pace, without haste, without needing to prove anything to anyone. If this hesitation to trust your own wisdom has resonated with you, understand this. It can also reflect energies that insist on making you doubt who you are. The digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe That Help the Zodiac Sign Overcome Spiritual Envy, was created precisely for old souls like yours. More than just reading, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises for you to recognize patterns, silence doubts planted from the outside, and regain trust in the wisdom that has always been within you. Taurus's search for true security, for an abundance that no one can take away, begins right here. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And we arrive at the point that changes everything. After recognizing the root that binds, the weight that isn't yours, the silence that holds wisdom, one final question remains, the most important of all. If all this comes from a soul so old, so tired of losing, then where truly is the abundance that Taurus so desperately seeks out there? Imagine a natural spring, one of those that emerge in the middle of a mountain, without a dam, without a pipe, without anything built by human hands. Even after years of drought all around, even with the river drying up and the crops withering, this spring continues to gush clean water. Why? Because it never depended on rain from outside. The water source originates deep within, in a layer that surface drought never reaches. That's exactly what the ancient soul of Taurus carries, even without knowing it. Their true wealth has never been their house, their savings, their accumulated possessions. All of that has always been just an external reflection of something much deeper. The ability to remain whole, to continue sprouting, even after years of being drained by the envy of others, by past losses, by the fear of trusting. As long as Taurus believes they need to protect the source with ever higher walls, they will continue to feel small, threatened, scarce. But the moment they understand that the source is theirs, that no one can truly dry it up, because it springs from a place that no envy can reach, everything changes. It's not about accumulating more. It never was. It's about trusting that what sustains you from within is greater than anything they've tried to take from you from the outside. And when that confidence finally settles in, something changes in the way Taurus walks through the world. He stops holding on so tightly because he understands deep down that he no longer needs to prove his existence through what he accumulates. The source remains there, available, sprouting, regardless of who tried to dry it up yesterday or will try tomorrow. That is the true freedom that an old soul can achieve. Not the absence of roots, but the tranquil certainty that they will never be lacking. If you felt this inner source just now, don't let that clarity slip away again in the rush of daily life. The digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe That Help the Zodiac Sign Overcome. Spiritual envy exists precisely to strengthen this inner source. It brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises created to help you protect your true abundance. Recognize when the envy of others tries to drain your energy and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of any difficulty. Your ancient soul already knows this. It just needs a map to remember. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Ultimately, the age of a Taurus soul was never about a number. It was never about calculating how many lives, how many cycles, how many trips around the sun that soul has already made before arriving here. It's about a way of being in the world, a slow, deep, almost geological way of feeling, keeping, protecting, and, little by little, learning to let go when it's time. Imagine a centuries-old oak tree in the middle of a forest. It doesn't need to announce its age to anyone. It's there, visible, in each hidden ring within its trunk, invisible from the outside, but real. Built layer by layer, year after year, storm after storm, it has weathered and remained standing. Taurus is that oak tree, a silent guardian of ancient cycles, of roots that have learned after a long time that holding on tightly and flourishing are not opposing forces. Perhaps you've come this far, recognizing a little of yourself in every word. And perhaps that, in itself, is a sign that your soul is no longer asleep within this story. It's waking up, slowly, in the way it has always known how to do the things that truly matter. And there's no rush in that. There's only the quiet certainty of a root that already knows, deep down, exactly where it needs to bloom. May this ancient soul continue its journey at the slow pace that has always been rightfully its own, without apologizing for it, without comparing itself to the haste that was never its own. Because in the end, the time it takes for Taurus to blossom has never been a delay. It has always been depth, and all depth sooner or later finds the light it deserves.